This is session 1410. The 48th session was TVP on August 24th, 85.
We have returned to begin the session.
Yes, welcome. As you can perceive, this is Martin, and I haven't monitored sessions for quite some time now. With whom am I speaking now?
You are speaking with the primary energy force of the Gandhi Cluster, but the force that we call Ramadan. Would you care to converse with another part of this cluster?
You are quite fine. Is there a particular topic that you would like to bring to our attention today, or are you here just for questions?
At this point, I'm here just for questions. There is the thought that later on we will bring through another energy to talk with you, but that energy is not ready to be transmitted at this point.
Yes, to refresh my memory, you have an area of specialty?
I do not feel that I do so. There are times when I will talk about health issues or what have you, but I do not feel that I have any area at this point that is more special than others. As you are aware, our cluster primarily tends to converse on matters more spiritual and otherworldly, as opposed to those on your plane. When you reach the higher levels, the core or the Gandhi energy, he is more likely to speak to you about those matters which can be thought of as very important to your day-to-day living.
Yes, I see. Well, I myself have a continuing interest in learning as much as I can about the different realities, as we might express it, the different energy levels in which consciousness comes to us or communicates among themselves, whether they communicate with us or not. I understand the number of realities is infinite.
Yes.
Are you in touch with other realities other than the earth plane in the process of your function?
Yes, we are. Absolutely. We are in touch with several other realities. There are 7 primarily that we deal with, as you would say, on a day-to-day basis. But those are levels out here having to do with thought forms and teaching and with the advancement of the souls on this level. I do not feel that I am the one that should be conversing with you. If you will hold for just a moment, please, while I am going to change the energy vibrational level to bring forth another energy, I'm going to be sending to you some relaxing energy. We feel that at this point you are not quite comfortable with our conversation, so we're going to work to change that at both ends. 1 second, please. Hello, Martin. We may now proceed with your questions.
Yes, I was beginning to inquire into the different kinds of reality with which you have communication other than the earth plane. We feel completely ignorant about how many there are that you might work with, how many there are that converse with each other, communicate with each other by whatever means.
We are primarily interested in that reality which has to do with your mind, your unconsciousness, and so therefore we work with that reality with those who are on the planet as well as those who are on this level, but we work with that part of you which is outside of your general awareness. We work with that frequently, and that part of you totally surrounds you there on the Earth's planet. So you might imagine that we are there moving among a field of energy that you cannot see, but yet is outside of you and is also part of you. And we are able to give you thought forms when we work in that reality, and we are able to give you ideas and concepts that you often might think are of as your own. By the same token, when teaching here on this plane, it is thought forms and other energies that are transmitted to the entities that are here, and it is more of a image, a pictorial type concept than anything verbal you might imagine.
Yes, this is an area where we we feel sadly deficient and are at this stage in our development are increasingly interested in mastering to some small degree the nonverbal communications that seem to typify other realities than our own.
It is actually very simple there on the planet to do so. It is simply a matter of taking away those blocks that tell you that what you're getting you're making up, or what you're getting cannot possibly be accurate. And as we have discussed before, learning to distinguish that when the information comes in, it may not always be from the highest source, but from just any energy wishing to give you information. Once you start to distinguish what is going on in your mind, you'll find you have much more information at these levels than you could ever conceive. You could practice by just finding someone who is willing to let you say whatever pops into your mind the first thing that you say, and see how accurate that is.
Yes, to what extent is it necessary to be free from judgment in order to have that work for one?
The judgment acts more as a filtering mechanism because you have learned through your lifetime that you weigh things either or. And in order to let things come through, of course, you cannot judge whether it is accurate. You have to say it. You have to take the risk that maybe it is going to be wrong. But not without risk-taking will you learn to diminish your filtering process until all that comes through is as pure as it can be for you there in the human body. So we would say that yes, you have to give up judging, but not in the sense that we feel you are judging, more in the sense that you are editing and choosing to filter.
Yes, we are told by other energies that we have been talking with lately that the earth energy of duality is a large stumbling block for us in the sense of seeing things as either or, and being so conditioned to that we have great difficulty in seeing the middle ground, seeing the sameness in opposites.
This is correct. If you take, for example, the concepts and the colors black and white, they both encompass everything, and therefore it is not either black or white, it all just is. The same thing is true when you talk of your dualities, when you talk of positive and negative things, or any other things there on the planet. It is an earth concept, and one that can be backed away from.
One of our observers here, Maury, has a question of wondering how you differ from the beings that we refer to as the friends who channel through the laboratory quite a lot, who are bound by an agreement of their own not to deal with day-to-day problems of specific human beings. He wants to know how you differ from this.
Well, obviously we differ because we will deal with day-to-day problems of specific human beings, because I am very aware of the problems that go on there in the planet, and if we do not deal with individuals and with individual problems or concern, then the universe itself will not ultimately be dealt with. You must begin with where you are and who you are, and I am working to help individuals do that. Although as a total soul cluster, We are working to raise the total vibrations of the universe and of all of those that we work with. And ultimately, we will be working with thousands of people and not with just individuals one-on-one, so to speak. Friends have their own pack. There is discrepancy up here among us, just as there is differences down on your plane among various energies. And they chose, as did Seth, and as have many others who have channeled through, to always work for cosmology and bringing forth the order of cosmology. We, on the other hand, feel there is no need for new cosmologies, that there are those, just as Fred, who are bringing forth the information that has been brought forth before, but does not need to be necessarily brought forth again and again and again at this point in time. What we feel must be brought forth is the actual experiences and those actual things that we can work to show you rather than speak to you, but that we can show you there is something else out there that we can work to get individuals on your plane to open their eyes and to look. We are also at a different level from Friend, primarily because at my level, I was there on the planet Earth for several lifetimes, evolving the more spiritual basis of understanding, and therefore that has put me on a different level here and now.
Yes, we appreciate that, and we do feel in need of non-earthly energies that are willing and able to participate to some extent in phenomena of
We
Earth.
have a suggestion if you can find a time when Winter will agree, and that will be for you all to gather one evening. While we come forth and while we channel, we will attempt to bring forth some interesting highlights to add to your understanding of what takes place and what is possible. It must be an evening of quiet time with just a few people gathered there, and it must begin with a meditative session, after which we will come forth and we will begin to show you just a few little interesting things that can be done. This can be done because the energy will be correct and because those working when they meditate will work to bring the necessary energy in to show you some of the more metaphysical aspects.
That sounds fascinating to us. Would it be helpful to provide in those circumstances the hemisync signals for Winter, or would she be able to do this without?
She will be fine without them. We can provide what she needs from this end.
Very good. We will proceed to plan for such a session.
You must plan carefully in order not to. She will have her doubts because she has only done this with a very small group of very close friends, as you are aware, and this will be taking it one step further than with the small group of friends that she is very comfortable in channeling with. But she knows it can be done, and we are anxious to do it.
Would you be suggesting then that the participants be limited to people who are say relatively free from skepticism or doubt?
We would say so. Although those that come, as you are aware, we always propose that there is no such thing as an accident, and those that will come will need to be there whether or not they are saying they are skeptical or not. But the energy must be flowing, and even those who may purport to be skeptical must certainly have a good, strong energy and be willing to release the energy to help us come through.
Yes, all right. We will take all that into account. And you say this can be done at an early time with regard to the present moment?
Yes. Yes, any time in the next 3 or 4 months would be a very fine time with us. We see that it will take place prior to Christmas because we see some other things coming along that will be interesting, and we would like to have this be just one of the many things that we're going to start to be working with.
All right, we will accommodate this to Winter's convenience. And are you the entity that was speaking in the previous session, which I unfortunately did not hear, in which they were discussing the origins of the universe, the Big Bang theory? Was that another entity?
No, I was there as we discussed that. It was brought forth, at first, it was brought forth by another component of this particular cluster. You must remember that as a soul cluster, we too are like a hologram, and all knowledge is here within us. And what takes place within one part of the energy also takes place in another. So, in effect, it really doesn't make any difference. The difference was just now when we went to change, we did not feel that your vibration and that of Ramadan was in sync, and it did not feel very comfortable to us, nor did Ramadan feel as comfortable with answering the questions that he was reading from your mind as he thought that I would, and therefore I chose to come through.
Well, that corresponds with my own intuitive feelings of comfort. I don't know what that's all about, but it doesn't really matter.
It always matters because one must be comfortable in order to get the most from their answers and in order to be their most intuitive. And therefore, that's what we're working to do, to create the most comfort and the most compatibility between those that we are speaking to.
Yes, thank you. The question in my mind about what had been reported to me about this previous session was that not only was the physical universe created in that moment, which we have called the Big Bang, but which apparently is not a very accurate description, but it's at the same time that consciousness was created. That was the idea that brought a question to my mind. I can envision the coming into being of a physical universe, but I can't imagine a time prior to that when consciousness did not exist.
Now, there was a consciousness there. There was not what we call the individual consciousness. There was not the breaking out of consciousness that went out into the various soul forms. And even in that, when we speak of the consciousness or the God force, as you are prone to call it, there are times when even the God force pulls within into itself and rests. This happens over billions and billions of years and then comes forth again. So the total was there. Much like you would say, the potential was there, as if we gave you the example of DNA in a cell. All potential is there. Everything is in that one cell, is in the DNA to be everything in a human that a human would possibly need. And then it goes forth and creates whatever it needs to create to make the whole. This is the same that is true with the conscious that was in a more of a fireball, the God force that you talk about, but it was not out into souls until we had what we're calling an explosion and moving apart of the fireball. And in that aspect, then all consciousness, the total consciousness as you know it, took place. And with the total consciousness moving out, it became even greater and even stronger than ever.
All right, I see it. Would it be the case that pure consciousness itself, whatever pure consciousness might mean, would be an attribute of the God force?
We would say that that is one way of looking at it. We would say that the term pure consciousness does not quite, for want of better words, does not quite feel just right with us, but it is one way of looking at it. And that is why when you start to look at some of the famous people, such as Teilhard, that said that if we evolve, then certainly man can evolve back to God. This is certainly very true. It is evolving back to that primary consciousness from which it came with the fireball effect.
Yes, we're learning even new phrases or word concepts to try to express that God notion and the God force idea. One of them recently has come into our vocabulary called the uncreated force. Would that have a significance to you, the uncreated force?
It is certainly one way of defining it. We believe that actually what will happen is that man will ultimately reach the point where they have that knowing, and that is all there is. You do not need to put words on it, because by the very nature of putting a word or a name to the force, you lower it from the level at which it actually is. And so it is better not to call it at all, but just to know that it is there.
Yes, and well, in on the subject of consciousness,
let us stop for a moment. Please keep your question, but just let us stop for a moment and add that when you attach a word to a particular concept, by the very attachment of the word to the concept, you are therefore limiting the concept to what you understand the word to mean. In some instances, this is okay. It is not fine when you are dealing with a force such as we are speaking of now, and such as we are calling the God force, because by the very nature of giving it a word, you are forming an opinion and an attachment to what it is that cannot encompass what it truly is. You may proceed now.
Yes, that's undoubtedly why some of the masters in the ancient past called it the unnameable or the unspeakable. Consciousness, we are beginning to understand more and more that is a quality or an attribute that belongs to things that we have thought of as not having consciousness, such as the elements of the earth itself, all material substances having within them a form of consciousness or the consciousness potential. Is that correct?
This is correct, and we discussed this, we believe, somewhat like a year ago in June. We believe that we brought forth to your attention that there is consciousness in things such as even rocks and wind and air and water. There is a consciousness there, and your planet Earth is a living planet, and this is very, very important for those of you on the planet to know and to understand.
Yes, you did talk about that. It takes us a while to absorb such a radically different notion than those that have been programmed into us for many decades.
This is also because, as we were discussing yesterday, of the collective unconscious and the entire belief system there, which says that there is no consciousness within rocks, and even those who say there is no soul within animals. It is the same type of belief system that you are working to overcome. The good part of that is that there is a number of belief systems, such as your East Indian, such as your Western Indian, and others who say that, of course, the earth is alive and there is consciousness everywhere. And probably, fortunately, for those who do not believe there is consciousness in rocks, is the fact that those who believe there is believe it so strongly that the positive effects will overtake the negative, and we use those terms loosely, but we know no other way of describing the concept.
Yes, I understand. When we first become acquainted with the idea of consciousness in such things, we feel that we must treat them differently, such as are we doing a bad thing when we throw a rock, or break it into small pieces, or all of the things we do in grinding up the elements and utilizing them for our own, quote, selfish purposes. This gives many people trouble when they think of consciousness residing therein.
This is correct. The rocks and the elements are there for a purpose, and what you must do before you move or grind them up is to look clearly as to your purpose for making such a move. And once that has been done, then proceed with whatever it is if you have the feeling that it is right, proceed with whatever it is you intend to do. For obviously you must use some of the elements in order to survive and to maintain your own livelihood. That means that you work with them divinely and not as if there was nothing there. And the earth has provided these for you. If you consider the earth as Mother Earth, then you will consider that she gives you these things for your use, and you should be thankful for that fact.
Yes, whether we will keep this firmly in mind. Would there be any way to describe a difference between the consciousness of, let's say, the mineral world? How would the consciousness of rocks differ from the consciousness of humans?
Let us see if we can describe it. The consciousness of rocks is more simply a feeling, but a very basic sensed energy field around the rock. The rock does obviously not have the analytical components that the human has, the reasoning components, nor does a rock fall in love with another rock. It is more an energy field which the consciousness around the rock knows that it is a rock, and therefore it binds together to hold the rock in place, the crystals of sand in place. It is more, we are trying to see if we can find another example. It is more like the very basic concept of energy that is just acting or taking place. It is not the type of energy that does all the intuiting and reasoning. If we can pull from our background another analogy, we will bring it forth at a later point in time.
Yes, I understand your position on hierarchies. I believe I understand it is that the notion of higher and lower is one that you do not choose to endorse as a generality. We would tend, in our normal way of thinking, we would tend to think then of a lower form of consciousness in the mineral world, and a higher form in the plant, and then a higher form in the animal, and a still higher form in the human. Is this a notion we need to relinquish in order to better understand?
It would be helpful. It is not something that we hold a great deal of hope that you're going to do in the near future. It would be helpful to be able for you to know that you can move into the rock and feel the rock and accept the consciousness there. There is a difference in consciousness, but it is more of the amount of consciousness that is put forth within the rock at any given point in time, and not a lot of consciousness is put into any rock at any point in time. Just a small amount is extended therefore.
Yes, well, this whole idea would, stem from something like the Christian theological notion of mankind should take dominion over the earth and the sea and the animal kingdom to make them serve his needs. And in fact, that does seem to be the way we are operating.
This is the reason that the fundamentalist Christian religions, as you know them, will, in the not too distant future, suffer a great turmoil when they begin to see things that are going to take place that clearly do not fit with their beliefs. The Catholic Church, for example, in believing that animals have no soul, and in your Christian churches, the ones that believe that soul is only within man, when this is not the case, they will be seeing some interesting phenomena take place on the planet, which will cause them to readjust their belief system.
Is it possible to share with us some hint about the nature of the phenomena they might witness?
The main primary phenomena that will be taking place will be at the next we're trying to say your time, we believe that it will be in about 9 years. There will clearly be a time when what you will call a spaceship will land on the planet Earth, and in a position such it is readily seen, not as one that has just come, but in a position so that it will be very clear that this is something coming from another time and space. This particular event will be very unsettling to those who are fundamentalists and who believes that there is one planet and man is supreme and all the other things that they throw into their belief system.
Yes, will this include living beings that will non-earthlings that will be perceivable by?
Yes.
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 Yes. Well, I plan to be still around in the body at that time. I hope you will make the exact location and timing known to us.
Yes. Yes. We'll let you know.
I want a ticket. Yes.
We believe that everyone will be very aware of this event. It will not be. It will not take place in the Midwest, so to speak. It will be very observable.
Well, we look forward to that. Continuing in our other subject of consciousness and rocks, that brought to mind for me that I have read in some of the older writings about the building of the pyramids in the ancient civilizations, pre-Egyptian, and I don't know how far back in history they go, that offer the hypothesis or the explanation that these enormous rocks were moved through mental energy, as if it might be some form of communication between the human and the rock, and a form of cooperation by the rock to levitate into place. Is this a myth or what?
More accurately, the pyramids and Stonehenge, as well as some of the other mystical elements on your planet, were a mental cooperation with beings from another reality who had the ability also to use their energy as they were in vessels not unlike some of your primitive airplanes to help move the rocks. It is a mutation of fact to think that the beings just on the planet used mental energy to lift the rock. It took the combination of the other forces as well as the beings on this planet, and it took some work as well. So it was not all solely just by mental energy, but there was a lot that went into it.
Yes, if there was a time when we had such cooperation available to us, is there an explanation of why that possibility was terminated or seems to have disappeared?
Actually, as man became more interested in science and in trying to prove and disprove, as well as religion began to take a stronghold, there was no room for the connection with other beings from other planets. And as religion and as man took over religion, it was shifted to a planet that had only one being from another time and space, and did not allow for these that were helpful heavenly creatures, and therefore those from other planets as well as those from the heavens had to take a back seat to a different way of thinking. And while they are always around and always have been, man chooses not to see them. It is only in recent years that man has chosen to start to see that possibly there's something and someone else out there that have been overlooked for all these many years.
I see. Then it is really correct that as we believe, then so shall we see.
This is correct. This is correct. And if you go back to the old concepts prior to what they used to refer to as pagan, there was nothing wrong with the pagan concepts as they truly were. The pagans felt that there were many gods, And of course, all of you are gods, and the pagans felt that much could be done with the mind, and they felt that the earth was a living being. And then, when some of your earlier religions came along, they shifted the concepts of the goddesses and gods, and they did start out primarily as goddesses. They shifted the concepts to one God, and then they took away that spiritual cosmic feeling from the planet so that it was just mainly there, as you said earlier, to serve the human. And they took away the connection with beings from other planets so that we were left actually in a very unenlightened state.
Yes, that makes it more understandable. Well, I'm beginning to have sympathy with Rita in her ability to produce questions.
That it's okay. We send pictures also if you do not feel that you have to have an immediate question, but if you can give yourself time to sit back and just reflect even for a moment, the question will come forth. And we are patient.
Yes, that's good to know. There's a tendency here for us to feel that we need to fill all silence immediately. I will think of a question.
We would like to see those of you here who are here at Monroe begin to promote the concept of the need to take care of the planet and to begin to promote the concept of the planet as living. That is a concept that most individuals on your planet can accept without being exposed to the concept of consciousness being in everything. The concept of consciousness being in everything is not one that those in Virginia and in other parts of the country are ready to hear at this point in time, but they can accept the environment and they can accept the fact that we must take care of the earth.
Yes, and what are some of the measures that would be good for us to support? Would that include the cessation of artificial fertilizer, cessation of all pesticides? It's hard for us to know in an ultimate way what would be good and bad in some instances.
Certainly the pesticides are not good for your planet, and ultimately all the chemicals that are at this point in time being dumped onto the planet are not good for the planet, and you will begin to see more and more the cessation of life at lower levels because of these chemicals. This is certainly a start. Again, it needs to be done in a way that awareness comes to individuals without making them believe that you are off on a tangent, so to speak.
Yes. Yes. Well, one moment, please. Our visitor would like to ask a question. This is Keith.
Certainly.
Thank you. I would like to, if it's agreeable to you, get back into one of the subjects that we were just discussing, and that was the visit of other beings that you talked about happening in approximately 9 years.
Yes.
Will this be of a friendly nature, this visit?
Oh, absolutely. It will be friendly. They are here now, as you may or may not be aware, but there will come a point in time when they will make their presence known in such a way that those on the planet will take notice, and it will not be, as some of the theorists have said, they'll come to try to take over, or some of your science fiction novels have said that they'll come to rule the planet. This is not at all their intent, because they are far more enlightened than many on the planet, and they come simply to make contact and to help those on the planet Earth get ready to move into the new century.
Individuals that you say are here with us now?
There are those, yes, here
Are
with us
they the
now.
same individuals that were here at the time of the building of the pyramids, which we were discussing also?
Some of those are the same consciousness, yes. The consciousness has gone on just as your consciousness has been here over and over for all time. The same is true with those. Their consciousness was here then, and their consciousness is here now. There are those who come that you do not realize that they are here, for they have come and appear to be in human form. It is only after you're around them for a while you realize that there is something slightly different about them. There are others who are here working with you who are not in a form that you would recognize, more they are in a spirit matter, and yet they do surround the individuals on the planet. There are some mediums who are able to see them.
Thank you.
Yes, I guess you can understand why we would have a special interest in and fascination with these kinds of events that will be happening between now and then, right? That will be.
Oh, and one of the first beginnings of one of the most significant things taking place today is taking place in Ireland, where the statue of the Virgin Mary is beginning to move, and the masses of people that are coming to view this, and where the head of this church is in his own mind does not know what to make of this significant event, and where those who see it say it is a perceptual problem. You will be seeing more of these events over the next 5, 6, 10 years.
Yes, and that's good. There seems to be to have been from time to time in this century and in past recent centuries, from time to time, little outbreaks of such phenomena reported, like a rash of miracles being reported.
This is correct. And the wonderful thing is that people are quick to believe, and this is as it should be. Although there are skeptics, there are thousands of people who will quickly believe and flock to see the event.
The thing that's happening in Ireland, is this an event that energy from your reality is taking part in, or are you just simply observing this and it's being produced through another energy?
It is another energy, a higher source of energy than we are. We are merely observers.
The question is rising here: what is the significance of this the moving statue?
It is to show people that there are other realities out there, because as they start to look at the statue, they are going to see that there is nothing physical that could possibly make the statue move. It has to be something else, something outside of the known reality of man.
Would the location of this be governed in some way, be selected in some way through the wishes or intervention or occurrences of the human individuals in that particular locale?
This particular site was selected in order to work to bring the strife that is occurring in Ireland to an end, to call the attention of the people to something else there. You will begin to see that in those countries where there is a much strife and much violence, that more and more phenomena and miracles will begin to take place, because this is what it will take to draw the attention of the people to a higher level. Something different is going on.
We're wondering why it would be centering around a religious figure, say, rather than a political statue or a building or some other physical object.
For one reason, it is the religious figures that people quickly will be watching and quickly will accept as moving. A political figure, for the way the mind works, will begin to say that it is possibly an earthquake, or they will look at it a bit differently. For the same token, the individuals have given a certain energy to the religious figure, and their belief system allows him to make the break because it is a religious figure. This is not to say, of course, that the Virgin Mary is the end all, but rather that it is in a place and time with the people, as you mentioned earlier, that makes it easier to begin to move it and easier for the people to accept it.
I see. I think the end of the session probably should be signaled about now. The winter does need to get to some other things. Would you express my being with us today?
Most certainly, you should not express regret on that because, as we are aware, it is a two-way street, and it is just as much the vibrations from this side as from that side, and we simply work to merge the vibrations. So it is not something that we take personally as those on the planet might.
Yeah, well, we're getting better at that.
Yes.